but you can't. So it's Mobtown life. I want to see the friends I miss, or give my mom a kiss, or get my hair cut right, or just sleep through the night. But you can't, so it's Mobtown life. Mobtown life, we'll drink with you forever. Mobtown life, in dark and stormy weather. Mobtown life, what else is there to do? Welcome to season 3 and a very happy floppy fish. But pandemic together. So put on your Wednesday best, at least the top, I guess. We'll take you to the moon. It's live to your bedroom. It's tonight, and it's Mobtown live.
Mobtown Live is brought to you by Frequent Interruptions and Larry Hogan's personal victory over COVID-19. Wow.
Welcome to Mobtown Live, everybody.
Hi, we just lost all of our viewers, but they'll come back. They'll slither back. Hi, nice to see you, folks.
They'll come back. We had probably everyone's pressing refresh. I mean, all 5 million people who are watching. The internet in Baltimore is not great. So we're trying. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming and joining us today. My name is Sarah.
I'm Michael. You know us.
You know us. We've got a really great show for you today. We have the author and feminist and activist and band leader Shawna Potter coming on. We have the incredible poet Anaya Taylor, who you all saw a couple weeks ago, talking to us about all of the activism she does. She's going to perform her poetry tonight. And then we have classicist and American hero Sarah Stroup coming on, which is going to bring us back to some Mobtown Live roots of just our passions and interests. And I think it'll be really good.
But in case you were thinking, oh, I need to tune out a little early tonight because of beauty sleep and or sort of like a socially distanced Tinder date, don't do it, because we are probably going to talk about antiquities looted by the Taliban, and that is some Indiana Jones shit. It's going to be cool. It is.
It's going to be fascinating. A few things. One, like and subscribe to all of our various channels. That's important. I've been told to tell you that. There's the YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook. There's, I don't know, but basically like click things until we get numbers that go up.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest. Also, next week, we have the incredible Songwriter X and the Skeleton Band. Just look them up. I don't really need to say much more. It's like they're from Baltimore, except for that they're not from Baltimore, but it's
like
gonna be
the
great.
Spirit of Baltimore got to be a little too extra, and the city ejected it into California, and then it will return to us.
It's pretty great. Yeah. I'm very, very excited. And then lastly, we have a payment system here where if you're willing and able to give us $10, then you should. And it's via Venmo at Mobtown-Live. The $10 goes towards paying the artists that we have on the show. We think it's important to pay them because it is. And so the more money that we're able to bring in, the more we're able to pay the artists. And we really appreciate it. Michael, we had a question in the comments. Sorry, go ahead.
There was a question about because Larry Hogan has triumphantly decided that the coronavirus is over. You know how it goes. That will we be opening the ballroom again? And to be fair, we have not ever really fully closed the ballroom. The circus classes are still happening at a very reduced capacity. We are going to very shortly, stay tuned for this, reopen our outdoor seating because the weather's turning around. Dancing is going to take a bit. And I know that many of you, a small percentage of you are very willing to come out under and wear bubbles and face masks and slather each other in hand sanitizer. And that's not quite our speed. We would like to, the social dancing, we'd like to be a little bit more casual than that. But we are following it closely. We're not extremely conservative on the subject. We're going to be safe. So we'll talk more about that, as it does seem like the world is getting slightly less hosed.
So there's hope, but we're not, it's not quite time yet.
Yeah,
I would say is the summary of that scenario. Michael, do you have anything big that happened to you this week?
No. What happened? I mean, I had my first meal outside in a long time. It was delightful last night.
Oh yeah, it's lovely out.
Ate on the porch. That was nice. I feel like a little bit of hope, like a tendril of hope, is springing out of the hearts of many people right now. And while there is that impulse that many of us have on the earth to be be afraid and ashamed, we all need to be careful and observe, public health recommendations. But let that hope fester.
But it's awesome.
Yeah, feel it, embrace it.
It's awesome. We might have lives that happen outside and around each other again at some point. It's so
I want to
exciting.
see some live music. I want to see a bunch of people jumping around in a room like humans.
Agreed.
Yeah, I want all that stuff. I really will miss sitting around inside and not having to go talk to people. But even it turns out about a year, and I'm I'm still fine, but I could talk to someone. Whereas at the beginning of this, I was fuck everybody for life.
Yeah, no, I feel similarly. Oh, you're getting texts.
I am.
Who was it? I'm just kidding. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that it's time to probably bring on our first guest. So in a second, everyone, we are going to have Shawna Potter, who is an author, a feminist, a lead singer of the band War on Women. You've seen her on here before playing with War on Women, a downsized version. She's absolutely incredible and has written a book called Safer Spaces, and it's a practical guide for how people can make the spaces that they live and hang out in safer for people, and make them free from harassment and assault. So in just a second, we'll bring on Shawna Potter, and here we go, Hachi. All right, Shawna Potter, hello.
Welcome. Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Hanging tough.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on today. I know you've been on before and we really appreciate it. And that music that we just heard was you.
That was me and my entire band, of course, but I was involved.
That's awesome. So
I feel like you being on our show gives us slightly more cool credibility than we would have had otherwise. Yeah, the leather jacket in particular.
Yeah. I am fully pretending like we are at a bar and not that I'm wearing pajama pants under here. I've decided to put on lipstick and put on my party jacket because that's how big of an occasion this is in my life right now. So you guys better be cool and funny. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't worry, we always are. So will you tell us, so First of all, full disclosure, I bought your book and it's arriving tomorrow.
Oh,
So I haven't read it because I bought it with the intention of reading it prior to this interview, and
I want
then
you to
couldn't.
ask weird questions then, like pretending
Oh,
you
perfect.
read it.
Be like, so you
So-
read a book?
Yeah.
No, I watched some interviews with you, and I think I had never heard the term Jill of all trades. I thought that was awesome. Which is what you are. So could you give us
Oh, yeah.
a quick sort of rundown of like what your deal is?
Yeah, my deal. I sing for the band War on Women. I wrote this book. What? It's right here. That's convenient. Called Making Spaces Safer. And it's a guidebook based on my last, almost a decade of training different kinds of spaces and businesses to be safer spaces. And really all that means is that everyone who comes in a space gets to have a good time. That's it. So I give people tactics and resources and tell them what to do and just make it super easy for people so they don't have to, struggle with it. This is something that every place should have, especially as we're taking breaks right now and rethinking safety and reprioritizing
And
our
spaces.
lives. Yeah, in spaces and getting ready to kind of go back to some new sort of world. Well, now is the time where we should think about what do we want that world to look like? And when we say, yes, we're going to make spaces safer, COVID safe, or get back to normal. Well, normal for a lot of people means harassment and discrimination and violence. And so how do we make it truly safe, like holistically safe for everybody in the future? And so this book and my trainings do that. I guess.
That's really cool.
And then I also have a dog and I chill with my dog all day. And now because it's a pandemic, I have a podcast like everybody else called But Her Lyrics and a Patreon to help me pay the bills that unemployment doesn't. And so again, yeah, Jill of all trades, I guess.
What is the background that you bring to bear on this subject? Like what got you started writing about safer spaces? Because that seems like an odd professional move to just sort of conjure.
Yeah, no, like there's no way I could have written this unless I had been actually training people in this stuff for years, right? Like I wouldn't just be like, you know what, I'm an expert, here we go. No, it's because I've actually been in the room with employees and managers and owners talking about what's actually within our power to do, what's reasonable that people can actually ask of us as employees to do, like balancing all those things while keeping in mind that there's way more that we could all be doing to help people that deal with identity-based harassment and violence. And so my background, I come from the anti-street harassment world. I started the Baltimore chapter of Hollaback. And that's where my focus was, gender-based violence, because that's what was closest to my heart, obviously. But eventually you start to realize, well, man, almost everybody's dealing with some sort of harassment or discrimination, and it's all connected. Okay, what can we do about this? There's a lot of power in all these third spaces, a different kind of responsibility that exists than just, oh, I'm the other person at the bus stop seeing this thing happen, right? Like that person at the bus stop has a lot they can do, and it's called the 5 Ds of bystander intervention. But to think that you have some sort of authority within a bar or a coffee shop that isn't being used, eventually I was just like, well, I got to tell them what they can do. I got to make this easy. Like we all play a part in keeping our communities safe. And especially if we don't want cops involved, which we don't, then we got to do it ourselves.
So you kind of already answered this, but whose responsibility is it to deal with harassment?
Everybody. I mean, if you're a victim of harassment, obviously do what you got to do to survive that moment, no judgment here, whatever your response is, but really it's everybody else's, because I'll tell you why. Everybody else outnumbers the victim, the target, right? And the person that's causing harm, like whatever's going on in that moment, the rest of us outnumber them most of the time, especially at a bar, at a show. And so why wouldn't we Like we'll have a good view of what's going on. We'll be right next to them. We'll be behind the bar. We'll have a safe space to sit away from everybody for a second. Like whatever accommodations or actions we want to take, like we have the power to do that. So yeah, it's on everybody.
Go ahead, Sarah. Sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead, Michael.
So I've been working in venues or running them for almost 20 years, and Sarah's got a similar level of experience. We have seen all kinds of crazy shit, and have often
Yes.
we've kicked out a large number of people. We've got
just so many
blowback
people
for it.
Want us dead.
People have threatened to sue us constantly.
Yeah.
People have people have stalked us afterwards. At the beginning of this pandemic, I had someone send me $100 as like a stalking maneuver. It was very strange.
Oh, wow.
The specifics of this are what interest me, because I feel like there's a disconnect between sometimes people that run venues or are responsible for spaces and the customers. In our case, that disconnect often manifests itself as we say we care about this being a safe space, safer, right? And people go, oh shit. Well, if anything happens in here of any kind, I'm going to go find Michael or Sarah and tell them about it, and they're going to come over and deal with this.
Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay.
And so I'm interested in your perspective on the, like, how do we make a space safer or engage everybody in this? Because we honestly only have so much power.
That is true. And the cool thing is, like, no one has to do everything, right? Everybody just has to do something. And so what I try to do is make it really easy. This book is really easy to follow along. It is really specific. It's not hung up on like theory or like, I didn't go to college. It's not super academic, right? Like it is just like plain, here's what you can do. Here's why you should be doing it if you need a reminder. But here's what you can do. And there is a chapter on what if you are just another audience member and you don't work there. There's plenty to do. What if you are the new bar back? You don't even know all the employees and you don't really have any power, frankly. You probably shouldn't be kicking someone out yourself, right? Like there are times when it's, you got to go to mom and dad. you got to go to the manager, sure. But I think if you all can put out more information about bystander intervention to encourage your audience to find their power, to let them know what's within their power and what you're okay with them taking on themselves. And then as well, you have your own policies and protocols for what to do when things come up. Like that's a holistic community approach to safer spaces. And I think that's beautiful. Or just tell them to buy my book,
Yeah, no, that's a good
Sell
idea.
my book at
we might put them in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we don't mean to make it sound like our patrons aren't capable of doing that, because a lot of them are, and they read our code of conduct and they feel empowered to speak up for themselves in the moment. I'm curious though, for you, when it comes to being somebody who is marginalized or harassed in
Can
one
you tell
scenario.
I'm like, that's like a pandemic? I'm like tired. It's like not even 8 p.m. I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted.
No, you're like, oh my God, I'm talking to humans. Yeah. No,
yeah, like, oh wow, I'm releasing my brain. Sorry, everybody. I'm sure at home you can identify with this.
You're doing
it's not
great.
You, it's me, is what I'm saying.
This is a casual thing. I'm curious though, like when obviously you are someone who gets harassed, you see someone else being harassed, and there's this secondary trauma that can happen. How do you discern between a situation where you are the right one to step up and you're capable of stepping up, and the situation where you need to go ask somebody else for help?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I do bring this up in trainings, or it comes up in trainings a lot, and I certainly address it in the book. But there is an idea of like asking yourself, checking in, are you the right person to take care of this right now? And the first thing that has to do with is your own personal safety. And I think anyone that is used to being harassed for their identity or perceived identity, identities, plural, they're going to have a pretty good gut check already about, is this situation safe for me to intervene? Right? Like I would trust people's gut, like to know, like, nope, I'm not getting involved with that. I look exactly like this person being harassed. I should not get involved. I get it. So they'll know. But I think they often, or some people can often not get involved at all because they just don't know that there are options other than confrontation, right? And so they just need to know that there's other ways to help. And like one of the 5Ds is delegate. And so you can help someone being harassed by just going and getting someone else to help. And you're still helping. You're still doing the right thing. Like, and that's kind of beautiful, right? So you don't have to put yourself in a metaphorical, crossfire of any kind. But also another thing to think about, other than just your own personal safety, you should also think about, well, do I look exactly like the person harassing? Like, if I enter this situation, will the victim understand that I'm with them? And if I'm the only option, if there's no one around that, might be better, how can I make sure that everybody knows I'm not on this jerk's side and I don't agree with what they're saying and I'm with you? Like, how can you do that? And so those are the two things to think about. But there are so many options, and it really isn't, no one has to come in hot. It doesn't have to be aggressive. You don't have to say, you're a racist and let's fist fight now. It's really not about that. It's so much simpler and it can be more calm than that. And when alcohol is involved, obviously, if you tell some folks, dude, you're being kind of a jerk, like if you don't cut it out, you got to go. Well, that alone is going to send them to 100 miles an hour. I'm not a jerk here, and then it's clear that, yeah, they should go anyway. like they're obviously going to be trouble, and you shouldn't feel guilty about letting that person walk it off,
That's the way we kind of tend to be, like, the way people react to us says everything we need to know about them in terms of whether we made the right decision or not.
It's the gut check of, like, if somebody came up to me and I was in a bar and, let's say, a little drunk, which has happened once or twice,
sure,
and they said, like, hey, you're out of control, or like if they brought that sort of information to me, I would be terrified and horrified. Like the last thing I want is to be like, I'm that person. When somebody, and I would slink out the door or like apologize or like let someone hit me. When somebody responds with aggression to that, I think we almost always feel like, well, you've just demonstrated that you're not capable of existing in an adult space.
Yeah. And in case anyone's listening that doesn't identify with what you just said, I think if I was drunk and someone said, hey, you're being a jerk, I'd be like, what? No, I'm not, because I'm drunk. Like, I don't think I would immediately feel bad. I would question it in my inebriated state. I know me. I'd be like, what are you even talking about? I'm amazing. But that's why
we would totally kick out Shawna, Sarah.
That's why it's on bystanders. That's why it's on friends. That's why it's on the other bartender that's like sort of my acquaintance and could be like distracting me and like, let's talk about that band, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, oh, okay, what's up? And you know what I mean? Like, it's a community effort. Our safety is a community effort. And so I get it. I get it if we're wasted and we're not our best selves. That doesn't excuse violence. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously it's not an excuse, but at least you can understand, like, I am not going to be able to reason with this person. I can't necessarily expect an apology for an off-color remark in this moment, but this person might need to go so that everybody else can feel safe for the rest of the night. That's the important thing. And that's the kind of thing that isn't really happening everywhere consistently unless they're taking some sort of training, or starting to really put victims at the center of their policies.
It really strikes me when you speak about these things, how focused you are on the immediate situation of, like, just not like, is this person good or bad? Do we need to cancel this person? But like, are they just how do we make the situation safe? And
what is happening?
Right.
Yeah.
And you were talking in an interview that I watched about how you deal with people who maybe are slightly resistant in trainings or who need to be convinced a little bit. And I just really appreciate the graciousness with which you seem to approach people, like not being concerned about whether or not to cancel them, like I said, in that moment, more being concerned about how to get them to understand what you're saying. And I'm wondering if, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you discern for yourself when to say, hey, fuck you, and when to say, hey, this is the way that I would try and get you to handle this? You know, like, how do you decide where the line is between telling someone to fuck off and telling someone, like, inviting someone in?
My advice to others or my line?
I think maybe both.
Okay. Because my advice to others is always going to be way more nice and altruistic than my own line, which I think is pretty natural.
Yeah, what is your
but
natural line then?
but I think that, especially in light of how these weird toxic circles of social media can occur, and not being anywhere but social media the last year, I think that my patience to have any kind of conversation is pretty nil. Like I'm not even willing to say, you're making me angry, bye. Like I'm just like, I'm just done, because I don't feel like it will be productive. And so one thing that I've thought about in the past, and I've talked about this on my podcast too, there's this idea of a sin eater in historical religious terms. I don't know. Anyway, it was just something I was researching a little bit. And there are times when I will insert myself into a situation. I will do some good bystander intervention, even though I might look like the person being harassed, or I could easily be harassed by the person causing harm. And I'll do that sometimes, but knowing full well what might happen. But I'll make a choice. And sometimes I'm in the mood to make that choice and just be like, you know what? I'll take it on. Lady, you get on the bus. You live your life. I got time. I'm in a mood. Let's do it. What do you got to say? And I'll do that. But there are some times where I don't have the energy, or I've already been harassed, or I'm feeling tender that day, and it's just not, I'm not the right person, and I delegate and I get someone else to help. I'm also really lucky in that I have War on Women to let out all my anger and frustration and scream about everything I want to scream about, so that I can have more patience when I'm talking to people one-on-one. And so whether that's someone in a training that's just really resistant to the ideas, I'll give them a little leeway, but then eventually it's like, well, look, your boss asked me to be here, so I'm going to say these things, whether you like it or not. So you might want to shut up. And if you want to go to lunch, we can. You're buying, but I'll tell you whatever you want.
Awesome.
I'm curious about how you approach some, because in our experience, we've often found that people try to drift to gray areas as soon as they feel the heat on them. And this might be particular to the social dance community because it's a lot of repeat people. So there tend to be fewer like, I'm out here being crazy one-timers, and it's like, oh, you're regularly kind of on the edge of being infuriating.
Right.
And so I think a good example is like, how, if you were in a bar or dance or something, and you got those people that are sort of like making the rounds and talking to everybody and making themselves, like making people uncomfortable, maybe not physically threatened, but are definitely harshing the vibe and sucking up all of the attention and energy, like often usually men, or hitting on everyone, that kind of thing. How do you recommend that people approach that?
I mean, it's tough to tell the other attendees or patrons to be on the lookout, because they only know their one experience with that person. And then when they're gone, they're just so relieved. They want to let it go, like they just kind of want to put that dude out of their mind. And so which I think is a natural response of just like, okay, that's over. Thank goodness. If they could think to say, well, if he's bothering me, he's probably bothering someone else, and tell you, that would be like the next step. Certainly something to keep in mind. If you're being bothered by someone, if someone's being a jerk, it's likely they are doing it to others, or that there could be a pattern. So you might as well at least put it on someone's radar. That's all. And by putting it on y'all's radar, that doesn't mean they even get kicked out or talked to right away. It just means you are now aware of
We're
this
watching
person
them,
if
yeah.
you weren't before, right?
Yeah.
And so for the folks that work there, though, or have a more vested interest in Mobtown, the first thing to do is just observe, right? So you're already doing that. You're already noticing that sometimes there's a person that makes the rounds and just keeps hammering away at people's kindness until he moves on to the next group. Well, one, yes, it's a little socially awkward, and you want to have some sympathy, unlike my dog, who's not sympathetic to anyone walking outside, which is what's happening right now. You want to have a little bit of sympathy, but also that can turn predatory, that behavior. It can turn predatory really quick. That is actually a sign of someone looking to drug or assault a person. They're looking for a weak link. They're looking for someone that came alone. They're looking for someone, who and weak in their mind, right? Not in reality, but in their
vulnerable.
mind. Like, yes, just vulnerable in some way, which is not a judgment thing. And looking to take them to a secondary location. And so we don't want that person to make the rounds and buy everyone a drink and not you have your eyes on those drinks the whole time that you're serving them. You know what I mean? And so observing is the first thing. And then I like to kill them with kindness. I like to make sure that they know that I'm there and I see them by just saying, thanks so much for coming. Isn't my dog annoying? I know, right? What else can I talk to you about right now? And just make sure that they know that you know they're there. And you say, all right, and you know what else? I'll be right over here the whole night. I'll be right there. If you need anything, I'm here. You know, not in the creepy way that I just did it, but you know, like just be polite and just think about it like everyone is a guest in your house.
Yeah.
So you can talk to anyone you want. You can make sure everyone's doing good. You can say, hey, cool shirt, or everybody over here okay? And okay, let me know if you need, you know, like you can host. And that's perfectly fine. And no one should be afraid of that. And sometimes just making your presence known, like letting them know that they're not invisible, sometimes that's enough to curb what can be a little odd behavior. It's kind of remarkable when people think they're being watched, right?
That's, yeah, I am really excited to read your book and see all of the like sort of quick, like it seems like it really is just a guide on every scenario that
hey, what if you just
of.
did this here, and here's another option,
right?
That's
exactly.
what the whole book is.
Yeah. So I know you do trainings. Is there anything coming up that people can like look out for?
Yeah, I actually have 3 upcoming free events, free $0 events coming up.
Nice.
2 events about bystander intervention. They're actually being put, I'm going to look at my site. Go to shawnapotter.com/events.
It's in the chat, everyone.
Yeah, they're being put on by United Way of Central Maryland, which is cool. And then there's a Making Spaces Safer webinar on March 25th, which I'm putting on with Our Music, My Body. And it's all about just kind of a primer on how do you make spaces safer. Like there are cities that are currently trying to reopen, states trying to reopen at half capacity, which is really scary. But if people are going to go, let's make sure it's actually safe for everybody in every way. So go to my website. And can you hear my dog? Just
a little bit.
Chewing?
You're fine. You're fine.
There's toys.
It's fine.
She's
it's
going
really
wild.
That's the world we live in now.
I know. I wish you could see her. I'm like, it's fine if I'm on a Zoom call and everyone's dog is barking, as long as I get to see that adorable dog. But She's not gonna.
The amount of time that my cat's butthole is just like right in front of the camera is a lot.
It makes the meeting, in my opinion. That's why we all tune in anyway. Why else would I show up?
So we do want to be respectful of your time, but I want to ask you at least one more question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
And this one is sort of coming at it from the other end, which is one of the problems that we've had is people of goodwill who mean no harm just send in the wrong messages. And often it is in the context of flirting, which is something that happens in the world, and we got to be able to do it.
Oh, yeah.
On you two level. You're both the king and queen of teaching people how to flirt appropriately, as far as I know.
I mean,
oh, you're good at it too? You have to have that conversation a lot?
I want to hear where you're coming from. What if I like let's say I was not the smooth character I am, but a little awkward, and I was in a venue of some kind, an arts venue where it's a community, and I say like, oh, there's a person, I'd like to chat them up, right? What is an appropriate way to do that sort of minimizes, it like puts them in a situation where they're going to be comfortable and feel okay to say no, or like kind of, how do you initiate contact with other humans respectfully?
Yeah, I mean, this is not the first time I've talked about this. Like I have an entire chapter in my book about healthy flirting, and it came out of conversations that I was having a lot on universities, right? Like with younger people, because they're like, how do you talk to a girl and not be accused of rape? And I'm like, whoa. like there's a lot of middle ground in between these things. Like we can find a way. And so that's why I put it in this damn book to make it easy for everybody.
I can help you.
So, yeah, I can help. And the first thing I ask is that people, and this is all people, all genders, no matter who you're interested in, right? Because everyone can put their foot in their mouth. Everyone can say something dumb and cross a boundary. Like it's a human thing, especially after we've been cooped up indoors. And I don't know about you, but I've completely forgotten how to be polite and normal in a conversation in real life. So I think we're all in the same boat there. So I ask that people just first ask themselves, do I actually want to like hang out with this person, call them, date them, have sex with them? Like, am I actually interested? Or am I just like, hey, like just by reflex, a pretty thing, I should talk to it, because if that's all, if you don't actually want to go to some second step, just leave them alone. Honestly, just leave them alone. They get it all the time. Like if they're interested, they'll come to you. Like, don't worry about it. If you're just trying to bother them, don't bother them. Now, if you actually want to go to some second step, whatever that might be, don't comment on their body. Don't comment on things they can't control. Don't comment on the most obvious thing. You're so tall. Look at your tattoos. They know, like, that's just boring. It's not even like fun or funny. They just hear it all the time. It doesn't make you stand out. Like, don't be that person. If you can, talk to them about something that they have some control over. The band shirt that they're wearing, the fact that they came to the show. Are they friends with your friend? And like, oh yeah, that's how you know them. And then also like the second that they're like, oh yeah, hi, take the L, just get out of there. Just be like, all right, cool, well, I'm around if you want to talk, bye. Like that kind of graceful exit where you acknowledge, oh, I don't know if this person's 100% into this. Like that's actually really hot to me. When someone just isn't hanging around a long time, it makes me more interested in them. Like, oh, they got other stuff going on. All right, so I don't know, just give people space and recognize that if they're hanging out with like, if I'm like with like 5 of my lady friends and we're like, having a good time, like that's also, no matter how cool you are, I'm probably not interested in like some random dude being like, hey ladies, what's going on? What are we celebrating? Like, it's just not the right time.
That's such useful advice. I mean, I see people make these mistakes all the time. They want to talk and they're like, is now the right time? They're like puppies, like, anyway, thank you.
I mean, like, and all of that, I don't want to, I know people are going to want to, they're going to want to hook up when this is all safe and everyone's vaccinated. So I get the weird energy that's going to be coming out really soon. So I just want to say here's your bit of hope, the positive. You can also just hand someone a piece of paper and say, I think you're really hot. Here's my number. Let me know if you want to hang out sometime, and then walk away. That's like
Batman.
That confidence, that Batman confidence, that hotness. Like, not only is it really attractive, But also it's completely in their court and you didn't linger and make it weird. And like, yeah, maybe they never call, but you also didn't make someone feel weird or bad. So like, just be ready, just get a card out, just post-pandemic card. Let people know like, you're a hottie. Let me know if you think I'm a hottie. Bye. That's it.
Take a quick look. I'm
That's
out.
awesome.
And I'm out. Yeah, that's great.
You see what I'm working with? Okay, bye.
I think that's perfect. And I think people are going to be interested after being cooped up. So don't worry, folks. You'll have plenty of opportunities. That's all.
This was awesome. Thank you so much, Shawna.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
Give me an excuse to put on lipstick. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Just like the Virgin Queen, with 4 cakes proposing, I forget to breathe. I wonder what I really, oh my beloved country, sacrifice these needs for the good of many who benefits from leader and Thursday, running off for enemies. If I leave, I'll come back in one piece. I'll come running through window me like I'm alive. Who decides they're all enemies? Just like a martyr to be forced to stop.
All right, everybody, we're here with Anaya Taylor, who is an incredible activist, poet, Jill of all trades, which is a term that I learned in the last
That's the new one.
segment. Yeah. So Anaya, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You were here a few weeks ago and we got to hear a lot about the work that you do. And so I'm so stoked to hear your poetry today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to share.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you have it. Here you go.
Alrighty. So I'm just gonna, hi everyone. She already introduced me. My name is Anaya. Hello. And yeah, so I'm just gonna get straight into it. You got the weight of the world on your feet, so you can't move. Walking through life like you've lived it before, you're an old soul. Got love for the world, but not enough to give yourself. Call it Stockholm Syndrome. The way you can't leave a country that has done nothing but abuse you, gaslighting your existence into you're nothing but a puddle of sorries. You are a gem, a diamond. And don't you know they live forever? Let your voice be your Horcrux. The way you walk in oceans that you've cried from your eyes. You see the sea of bodies buried deep and wonder why you can't sleep. Don't let them tell you it's not that deep. You got the world strapped to your feet and galaxies in your eyes. Your starry night has been this bright forever. So when you feel out of body, it's because you've never been here, just an alien in a world of humans trying to find your way back home. And in that moment, I disappeared, flew through the sky like Peter Pan. I was a lost girl, landed in forever land with other lost girls like me in this space. Rape wasn't in our vocabulary. Never knew what it meant to have a significant other, just family. And ain't that the most magical thing of all? Where older boys don't try to Pinocchio their way into your heart, saying they won't hurt you, telling you they're a real man. I wish I could just beauty sleep myself to a realm where I don't have to work my way through the labyrinth of life, where the invasion of my body is the usual in this new realm. Cinderella breaks her glass slipper and stabs her prince who dared to enter without knocking. Belle plucks the petal of the enchanted rose. He hurts me not, echoes through the castle. Mulan is out here fighting real ass soldiers, and this will be proof that strong women aren't dead. just trapped between the teeth of hungry wolves, who thinks unanswered doorbells mean to blow the whole house down, to be spellbound to a place where bad memories were cast away like curses, to conjure up peace with the flick of a wand. Rumpelstiltskin has no place in our home. No sleight of hand, no deals, no tricks, just peace. In this world, we all have the Midas touch. Let abracadabra be our amen, our ashe. Let our spellbook be our Bible. Our juju has the best karma, and safety is a birthright. And there's nothing supernatural about it, because shouldn't this be reality? Why can't Foreverland be America? Why can't assault be non existent? Be black magic, be forbidden, like happy is? And why can't no be the magic word? Sometimes I feel like I didn't get to know you well enough. Too focused on what you'd be like in the future, I forgot your presence was a present. Spent so long trying to run from your roots, I forgot it was you who grounded me. Who are you if not the greatest parts of me? What are you if not my greatest companion? And who was I if not the greatest American? Cutting off parts of me I thought were dead, abusing the parts of me that created me, and then calling myself free, and what a change not to be in chains. To be hugged by the roots of a tree rather than hung by its branches. What is this, if not proof that the place where we needed to go was within, to the core, to the deepest parts of me that was always waiting there for me to come home? I am matter. Matter is everything, and everything matters, so I must be everything. I am the sun. On days when my light doesn't shine bright enough, I am a star. On days when I don't want to glisten, I eclipse my own glow and settle for the hollow nights. My family is a constellation of all the things I am most ashamed and proud of, and as hard as I try not to be, I am those things too. And just like the moon, I love them in phases. And just like Pluto, they accept me conditionally. I am from deep space, maybe dust, or even a black hole, or a big bang. Celestial bodies encompass my bodies. I spend endless amounts of time writing bodies of work I forgot. My body is a work of art. I am from the past and the future. The future holds me in her hands, reminds me that I'm nothing but a telescope. Here, take my eyes. I'll show you all the things that you are too. If only we could take down the patriarchy the way we take down a monument. Lynch the government the way they do niggas and leave it hanging, leave it gasping for air, and won't care for the way white people cry as its blood drips on the streets. Gotta kill capitalism before it uses its corrupt cops to kill us, and color ain't the problem. It's politicians peckish for pelf, pushing propaganda to push us out, put money in a man's hand and watch him turn magician, making the poor disappear at the drop of a dime. Got corporations profiting off punishment. But we don't want your money, because let us be empty calories. Let us be rich in blood. I'm tired of being hungry. I've been starving, been craving a richer flavor, and you know I got expensive taste, so bon appetit. I'm eating bones and teeth. I've been fed up. Tell Warren Buffett to stuff it. I'm ready for my buffet. It's time to bring home the bacon. Get a plate and fork. I'm done with pork. I got beef with you bitches, and I want all the smoke. Barbecuing. Billionaires on the 4th of July. Fuck your Independence Day. I want to eat the rich. No need to sugarcoat. Call me a bitter, strange fruit. Your piss will be used as lemonade to aid the sweet taste of your tongue. My mom tells me not to bite off more than I can chew. Well, I got a mouthful of nuts, and I don't spit, I swallow. And if you think I'm joking, you must be eating dick I'm making. Gumbo with fingers and toes, and who knows, I might add hot sauce because I put that shit on everything. It's crunch time. I'm cracking crackers like crabs. Niggas get sticky when we don't get our hands on that stimmy, so we grab the blicky and feast on brain matter. I've heard it's a much better stimulant, and you can't say we're unjust. We're just getting a justice. This is just us getting our just desserts. God. Please do not condemn me for the unholy things I've done with my whole being, my whole being the only holistic remedy to the empty holes I cannot fill inside of me. But this whole sole purpose is for broken men to make a whole home out of me, but it's so hard to hold on to a fever dream of me being whole when I've seen my mother break at the sight of a man my whole. Be a parking lot for boys to put their whole thing in my space with no plans of reverse even. When I'm all stop signs and screams, they still find ways to make loopholes. I hold on to the idea that maybe this whole thing is a nightmare. I feel like a gaping hole, ready to be fucked or fucked over. Either way, I'm put to good use, but I'm so holy, right? So many men prayed to pray on my temple, I treat the bed like a pew and lay all my sins down at the foot of it, thinking these boys must be holier than thou. I've been praying to the wrong God, but treating my body like whole foods. I've been a whole fool to believe that the condom and the Bible serve the same type of protection. I need to be nicer to my vagina. I have to love her and all the things she does for me, how she simply holds everything in and lets it go. These veins don't bleed in vain. Let blood flow and carry all the things I cannot hold on to anymore. This vagina, a part of this body, and I need to be nice to my body. Without teaching me, Levy teaches me to hug myself more. On days when no one else can, I've mastered holding the cell that holds these cells together. Even when this body feels like a holding cell, I have to hold her more. God puts life in a vessel, and the vessel shows God and life. I'm learning that I cannot love the Creator without loving the creation, and aren't I both? I have to be nicer to my hands, these things that hold pain and love and grief and shame and desire and lust and life, all with the same tenderness. I have to be tender with my vagina. She is a vessel, a channel. She sheds blood the way I shed tears. Then she sheds a body from a body. God puts life in a vessel, and the vessel puts life on earth, I guess. I didn't know the power my pussy possesses, I guess. I shouldn't have waited for someone to bless a being that gives others blessings and overflowing wishing well. So I guess pussy is God. Thank you guys. I am Anaya Taylor. You can follow me on IG at _Anaya Taylor. That is spelled ANIYA Taylor. And that was the spiel. Thank you.
Anaya, you're so great. That's awesome. Thank you.
Ooh, yeah.
I want to ask you just a couple quick questions, if that's okay.
What's up?
So how long have you been writing poetry, and how'd you come to it?
Ooh, I love this story. So boom, I'm sitting in a classroom, 6th grade, age 11, 12, whatever. And I have this teacher who I'm a part of speech. I was a part of the debate team in middle school. And this teacher who been my teacher and coach from 4th up until 8th grade, and at the time I was in 6th, was like, you know what, I want to start a poetry club. Every Wednesday for debate, we're going to do poetry. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I went and he showed us haikus and shape poems. And I was like, all right, this is cute. And then he showed this video of this man doing this poem. And the poem is called Black is Beautiful or Beautiful is Black. And I'm like, oh my God, look at him go. He's doing things with words I've never done before, but it looks cool. And from there, I just fell in love and I started writing. And it was small little stuff until I got serious about it around 8th or 9th grade. And in 7th and 8th grade, I'd been emailing this person whose poem I saw the first time ever. And I found out his name is Prentice Powell. I emailed him, I'm like, I love you so much. Because it was an assignment to email someone you like, a company or something, but I wanted to do a poet because I wanted to be different. And I loved this man at the time. So I emailed him and he was like, didn't email me back. And then he emailed me back and I was like, he emailed me back. And I was like, this is a sign. I'm going to keep writing. And I kept writing and I kept writing. And then I've been writing since 6th grade, and now I do it, professionally, as you see. And now he and I are like really cool. Like I ended up finding out that he has a daughter with the same name as me, and that's like how he was like, you have the dopest name ever. And we talk, and he's a confidant, he's a mentor, he's still a bomb poet. Yeah, and so he's really cool, and he motivates me every day still. And yeah, and that's it.
That is awesome. I'm so happy for you, Anaya. You're crushing.
Thanks.
You're doing great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you being here. And yeah, is there anything that people should like, how can they follow you or check you out?
Yeah, so like I said, just on Instagram, it'll be _Anaya Taylor. And shameless plug, go follow Do More Poetry. That's DEWMORE Poetry on Instagram, and they have a bunch of stuff, all the stuffs. And I'm a part of a team, and we are throughout the month of February we released installments of this love language poem that we wrote. And coming up, we will be dropping the full group piece of the love language poem. But yeah, Do More Poetry definitely has all the things poetry all over my pages, all my activism and my poetry stuff. So definitely, yeah, follow me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anaya. I really appreciate you being here.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
Bye. Thanks. All right.
Hello, people.
That was awesome. I
It was a twist.
Never. It was a twist. No, that was great. I think Anaya is stellar.
She's wonderful. It's very heartening. I never see what the children are up to, and in my mind they're playing with pogs, and in fact they're like writing poetry and shit. It's really I love it. We were worried about like profanity or any kind of rough language at the beginning of the show because we were going to have a younger
young person on,
and it turns out that she had it handled.
Pussy so. Scott. So turns out she's heard it all. Yeah, so that's awesome. Well,
why would I assume they're less profane than we were? Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Michael, why don't you introduce our next guest, which is so exciting.
Our next guest is a doozy, a former professor of mine, professor at the University of Washington in the classics department, Sarah Stroup. She is many things, and we're going to try and get into as many of those as possible right now. So without further ado, Hachi, are we ready? Can we bring her on?
There she is. Hi, Sarah Stroup.
Hello.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for coming on our show. You are legendary on the internet, and a lot of people in Baltimore know you from your Facebook presence, which is sometimes a little scary for people, I think.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No. So let's start and just say, like I said, you're a professor in the classics department from whence I came. What does that mean? How do you feel about that word? How would you describe what it is that you do and what kind of person you are?
Oh man. So, well, actually, first I want to say that like putting me on after Anaya is like putting Sophocles on after Aeschylus. So totally don't appreciate that.
We all understood that.
No problem. Yeah, I have
you understand.
Definitely.
Okay, because Aeschylus is the best and Sophocles is the worst.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it is true. It's true. Aristophanes said it first, and he was told maybe not first, but he said it best. So wait, we're talking like classics. So like, what do I do? So I am a member of. I'm faculty in the Department of Classics, where Michael, you got your degree. I hate the name because it's completely opaque and obtuse, and it almost serves to not tell people what we do, right? Like what the field is. It's an incredibly problematic name for the field. I refer to myself now as a professor of ancient Greek and Roman studies because like, boom, now you know what the fuck we do.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Classics, it has the sense of like, if you don't already know what we are, then you don't deserve to know what we are.
How could you not know what a classic is? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the middle of the Pacific. And so when I came to Seattle and did my undergrad at UW, I didn't know what this field was. I didn't know that people could do or were doing what I do. And it's just, so I've got a problem with the name of the field. And there's kind of a debate in the field in terms of like trying to change the name. But so what do we do basically? I mean, Michael, it's like it's a huge field that can be summarized in like ancient Greek and Roman studies. So we kind of deal with stuff it's like we deal with almost everything that people deal with today, but we just do it backwards. No, we just like do it like 3,000 to 1,500 years ago. Essentially. I mean, there are a few things in terms of like modern research and technology that we don't deal with in the ancient world, but like we do like philosophy, ancient science, ancient medicine, history, historiography, archaeology, which I've done a lot of, ancient politics and political dialogues and literature, ancient medical ethics, like we almost freaking everything. We just do it like back then. Or we look at it back then. I don't do it back then because that's like actually not possible, but
and the short version of sort of why this is relevant. I hate that word. I despise that word in talking about these things, as you know. I'm already sold on the importance of these issues.
Or relevant,
but
yeah.
Can you give people maybe a concrete example of a way that the study of the ancient world sort of informs life in a way that anyone would care about now?
I mean, it's a roadmap. Like if you've got if you don't deal with history, first of all, everybody deals with history. Like everybody is a historian because you can't study the freaking future. Like that's impossible. Right? So everyone is a historian. I think history gets a bad name because it's often taught really poorly, especially in high school, and people decide they don't like it and they stop dealing with it. Why is it relevant? So if you've got a small scrap of a roadmap and it's like super small, like really small. Does that help? Like super small. And it's got like a dot and it's like, well, you are here. And you're like, oh, fucking thank you. Like, where am I? Like, how did I get here? What did I do to get here? Where could I possibly go? What are the bad routes out? Like, how can I screw this up? And studying history, I mean, and no doctor would do that. Like nobody would do that. You don't start with like where you are. You start by looking at the past. And so this is why like this particular field is super relevant. I mean, all history is relevant, but for better or worse, a lot of, I'm not going to say Western because Western is only a cardinal direction. It's not a culture, but a lot of Western European in terms of like cardinal direction and United States practice and culture and identity is deeply informed by the ancient Mediterranean world. Like, and for really problematic reasons as well. But learning more about it, you just simply like learn more about like, why do we do what we do? Like, why do we have these rituals? Why do we have this idea of classics? Why do we celebrate it? I don't know. It's like, it's kind of everything.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that interests me about these discussions. I feel like they tend to go off track when people get confused that studying something does not necessarily mean approving of it. Like, I am fascinated by ancient Rome. I do not wish to reenact it in any way. I like toilets, like the ones we have. I abhor slavery. But there's a sort of an impulse sometimes to say, well, those guys are bad, so let's not study them. And I feel like the opposite should hold.
Right. I mean, like, don't you? So yeah. So first, one mistake a lot of people make is they think, like, I hate the fetishization of the ancient Mediterranean past. Like, oh, it's great, Rome, Greece. I'm like, if anybody says that, the first thing I know is they don't know anything about the ancient past. Like, there's no way you could. I study horrible people for a living. I study horrible people doing horrible things. Like, that's what I spend my time doing. But to not study it, or to pretend that it didn't happen, or to elevate it is deeply problematic and often exceedingly racist in a variety of ways. So, like, saying, like, don't study it, like, that's wrong, because how the hell are you going to learn how you got here and you're dealing with the problems that you have? But then elevating it and marching through the fucking streets with tiki torches and placards saying whatever, like, that's wrong too. That also means you either that you didn't study it or that you idolize horrible people.
Yeah, I feel like not studying these things is like going to therapy and refusing to talk about your parents. Like, how am I supposed to get anywhere?
That's a really good way of putting it, I think.
Oh. Anyway, as we know on the show, I love therapy. So you have made some waves. I'm gonna go ahead and call them waves recently, working with, in a good sense, Homeland Security, dealing with some looted antiquities. Can you talk about this?
Yeah. So in May 2017, I was contacted by a special agent.
Sorry. That sounds like the start of a very raunchy story.
I know.
When I wrote that you are a national treasure character, it was mostly because I had no idea how to describe what you do. And in my mind, you have the Constitution and you're running through the streets or whatever happens in that movie. So a special agent contacted you out of the blue. Did you believe that they were a special agent?
I did search them first to try to make sure that they were, but fun fact, special agents actually have almost no internet presence, which is sense. Yeah. And but I felt it was, reasonably legit. I still don't know why he contacted me, because that's a little sketch. Like, he contacted me saying, like, okay, we have seized a quantity of ancient coins that were trying to come in over the US border in Canada, and could you possibly identify these or authenticate them? And as it happens, like, I could, because I have a lot of experience. I have a reasonable experience with numismatics, with, like, coins, because I've excavated them, I've worked on them in museums and such. The slightly strange thing is that I'm, as far as I can tell, pretty much the only person who's contacted in Washington State, and none of the record of my working on coins is published anywhere, because it was all when I was in, like, grad school. Like, none of it, it's not my thing. So I don't actually know how they found me or why they chose to contact me. It's a little bit weird. I'm not even I've done loads of archaeology, but that's not even my degree, and I'm not in such a department. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, so what did I think? I don't know. I was like, okay, so tell me the story. And they showed me some photographs of the coins, which were pretty easy to, you can't authenticate over, like, in a photo. Like, you can't just look at something and you're like, I can look at something and be like, that's not authentic. But I can't look at something and say, like, that's absolutely for sure authentic. So that happened. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll try to help, because I hate looting, because it's bullshit. And looting is actually, like, a destruction of cultural property that should belong to the whole world. So I agreed to talk to them about it. And then about a week or so later, two special agents, my special agents, drove down from the border and met me in a coffee shop and brought all these coins.
They had ancient,
What?
couple 1,000-year-old coins in a coffee shop for you to look at.
Yeah, like in a suitcase and everything. It was like totally chill. And I was just like, I work in the coffee shop all the time, as in like it's a coffee shop bookstore, and I go and do work there. And it gave me some total cred because you could spot these guys. And we like just sat down and had coffee. Like, would you like to look at our coins? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
So you decided these coins are authentic and probably looted by the Taliban?
So yeah, they think that they have, I think, reasonable reason to believe that they were looted by the Taliban from Afghanistan. So the Taliban is problematic. Among the things that they do is they actually are really big into like black market, but like looting and black market sales of antiquities. So they like will go and they destroy archaeological sites and they engage in looting, and then they shift the artifacts into the black market. And like non-mihi placket, like I don't like it. That's not cool. It's also against international law. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can kind of help with this. So yeah, that's
so you identify the coins and you know, hooray, victory.
Yeah.
And then as a reward, you got to lead with this. Like, what did they give you?
I don't know. I can't show it to you, but it was at the end of this meeting, and like one of the agents pulls out this like challenge coin, which is it's a thing. Like I think it's like a military government thing, and they're like, I don't know, like yay big. Can you see like yay big? I don't know. They're like yay big. And he pulls out, he's like, okay, thank you so much. And I could tell that it was like something that was meaningful, but I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Northeast Seattle being like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm like, what do I do? Am I supposed to like do something like ritualistic now? No idea what to do. So I'm like, oh, thanks. And then later I like looked it up, or some military friend was like, oh, that's a challenge coin. Like that's a kind of a big deal. But the cool thing is that the challenge coins from HSI, which is Homeland Security Investigations up in Blaine, it has a freaking Bigfoot on it, which is awesome. Which I think is actually, and Michael, you know what it is? Like pursuing the elusive or something?
It said pursuing the elusive. Yeah, you sent me a picture of it. It's got Bigfoot on it, which it seems like absolutely the sort of thing that would happen to you, is that these people find you to identify something that you don't have any public display about knowing anything about, and then they reward you with a Sasquatch coin.
You don't have it right here, do you? We can't see it.
Yeah, we'll wait.
How
He's very excited.
You usually like hold it up to the screen.
Maybe I'll drop a picture of it in the chat if that's allowed. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
well,
you've got a photo of it. That'll work better. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
They chose Sasquatch, pursuing the elusive.
I think that's
so great.
So where are these coins now? What happened to them?
So they tried to get them repatriated, which is always what you do. It's under like the UNESCO 1970 convention, which makes it illegal. Like you can't actually, anything that has been looted after 1970, you can't sell it or transport it or anything like that. So you have to try to repatriate it, get it back to like where it came from. But with this particular group of coins, because there were 3 main different sets and they came from all over the place, and we don't know where they actually were found in Afghanistan, it was impossible to repatriate them, and Afghanistan wouldn't. Okay, sorry, it's just brought down.
Yes.
Yes.
Totally not lying. So they tried to repatriate them. They tried to get them back into Afghanistan, but my understanding is that the Afghanistan Antiquities Authority, or whatever it's called there, but it was something like that. It's a government agency. They wouldn't take them back, because once things are like tied up with Taliban, we don't know where it came from. It's just almost impossible to get stuff back to these countries. So HSI came back to me after a couple of years and like, well, can you help us, because we can't get these back to Afghanistan, and they can't go into a museum because that's against international law. Museums can't accept such objects. You can't sell them, obviously, because you're trying to keep them out of the black market. So all HSI could have done is destroy them. Like, that's what they actually have to do if you can't repatriate or move shit around. So they were gonna have to destroy the coin. And the agents were actually like really good people. Like, I've got problems with some of the government stuff that Homeland Security and Border Patrol does, but like the agents were like super polite and sweet, and they gave me shit. And so like they're
Can you hold it up really slowly so that we can see?
We just got a request.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like,
there's Sasquatch. There he is, pursuing the illusion.
That is awesome.
So good.
yeah,
That's
it's
so
pretty,
great.
it's actually pretty funny. But anyway, so they came to me and said, can you help us? Because otherwise these are going to be destroyed. And that was when I started talking to people at UW, being like, what can we do? Like, I can't take these, obviously, nor would I, but like, maybe we can get them into a situation in which they can be used to teach students, and like to teach the public. Like, don't, like, you think you're just buying a coin for like $50 or what have you, but you're actually participating in a centuries old ritual of looting, and it's not cool.
Hear that, people? Mobtown Live does not support looting.
No. Yeah.
Don't loot.
Imperialism.
Don't buy stuff on eBay and crap like that. And like, whenever you go into a museum, this is like a big lesson. I think it's a big lesson. Okay, first, British Museum completely looted. It's just like, it's like loot central. But if you ever go into a museum and you see an artifact and it's like, oh, provenance unknown. Because normally you get the little placards, and like the placards say like, oh, this is where it was found. And whenever it says provenance unknown, that means it got there through the black market.
Mm.
Whoa.
Because otherwise you would know where it came from.
Yeah, that makes sense. Huh.
Well, and if they're ancient Mediterranean coins, you're pretty sure they didn't come from America if you're looking at them here.
Right, right. So they could have been, I mean, a lot of stuff that was acquired before 1970, that's before the UNESCO convention. I guess we're just sort of like, okay, that stuff got here, and like here is in out of where it came from. And so that stuff is, it is where it is. But stuff that comes more recently that you just can't, it's illegal.
Hold on, I think we have a late graphic for this.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, Hachi went rogue.
Yeah,
What
here
are
we
you doing?
are.
Oh,
Oh no.
I can't
Wait,
see that.
I can't see that.
I can't see it either.
It's got an English, a British flag
something
on it.
about The Simpsons.
Oh, well.
Well, the
Maybe our
audience will be
audience
able
can
to
see
see
it.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully they learned their
Oh.
lesson.
I
I refuse
refuse
to apologize for the actions of people before I was born. British history. Yeah,
but I do want to take credit and feel proud of people's actions before I was born.
that's America. So I have one more thing that I want to give the people, like, throw some red meat to our base here, which is STEM people. And you are currently working on a book on STEM in the ancient world, which I'm almost certain most of our customers would assume doesn't exist. Can you speak to STEM in the ancient world? What kind of STEMming were they doing?
Sorry. I mean, yeah, so I teach this class. I developed this class years ago on it's Classics 314, which is on like STEM in the ancient world. So I hate the acronym STEM because it's complete bullshit. It's new, and I mean, it's really relatively new. I know when it was first started being used, and it used to be SMET. I don't know if I told you that. It's the acronym SMET. And then a woman working, and I'm not dissing her, but with NSF was like, oh, SMET sounds like not so good. It's like, let's make it STEM. And everyone's like, yeah, STEM smells, sorry. Sorry.
I think it both sounds and smells better. We can be clear on that.
I've had too many hours of Zoom today. So STEM sounds a lot better than SMET, which is true. And so they changed it. But basically the whole acronym is industry driven, and it's mainly driven at pedagogy at schools in order to turn schools into vocational facilities. So the whole thing's bullshit.
Michael just
I just got
Yeah.
super. I want to put on a cape and run around. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about like
It-
STEM majors and crap, but nobody really talks about STEM professions. Like you just go and you do a job. Like the STEM thing is really pedagogically focused, which I have a problem with. Also, STEM doesn't exist as a thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That was deep. What, can you
a pretty
unpack that?
fair point. Yeah.
It actually doesn't. I mean, it's like, okay, science, technology, engineering, and math. So like, but if you actually, if you dig into it, so I created this class in order to try to deconstruct this and show that like humanities and so-called STEM fields have always been interwoven and intertwined, and trying to separate them is pedagogically and intellectually dishonest and doesn't serve anybody. When you start getting into trying to talk about like, okay, what is science? How does science differ from technology? And how does technology differ from engineering? And then you've got math. You start like, it all starts flowing together. And, you know, quite frankly, with a lot of it, the way that we have evidence for advanced technologies in the ancient world is through literature and the arts. And so in the ancient world, like this stuff was not separated out. The pigeonholing and siloing today in the academy, but also in culture it's perverse and counterproductive.
And designed to turn, I mean, well, this is my whole, I'm basically using you to launch my opinion right now, so sorry. But that it's designed to take people who would otherwise be like full intellectual humans engaging on multiple fronts and turn them into workers. Or like, not citizens, you're now a taxpayer.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's really capitalist and vocational, and okay, like put that where it is, but it's also like driven curricula, like K-12 curricula and college level curricula, and it's problematic, and it is culturally dangerous and also stupid. But like, yeah, advanced technology. So there's this thing. The reason I started it, and you guys should just cut me off when you're ready to cut me off. So I'm kind of looking at the time. But part of why I did develop the class, and part of why I'm writing the book, is I got really tired of colleagues in so-called STEM fields at the University of Washington, specifically engineering, but also some other areas, saying to me quite confidently that that we, as in human beings, had developed everything. Well, actually, one idiot said that more history had happened in the past 200 years than ever before.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, brah.
History.
Literally possible. Yeah. But you know, there's this modernist conceit that like we've invented everything, we've done everything, we're the best. Like human progress progresses at some sort of unbreaking upward bound line, which it simply doesn't. The stuff that was being done in the ancient world is like pretty freaking phenomenal and really advanced, like nanotechnology advanced, and advanced machining advanced, and advanced mathematics advanced.
Funky.
So anyway, that's what I work on.
Sorry, go ahead,
That is
Sarah.
awesome. No, I was just gonna be like, that's awesome, and I'm so excited to hear about your book when it's time.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read it and give it to a lot of people, but not in a friendly way, in more of a like suggestive way. And you know, you're more pure of heart than I am, Professor Stroup. But I
seriously doubt that.
I think you have a true commitment towards sharing knowledge, and half the time I'm just trying to upset STEM people, even when they're right. Like, just if they're angry, I'm happy.
That's true.
You know, that's how it is. We stole 10 extra minutes of your time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing all of this wonderful knowledge. And I will never not be happy about the Sasquatch medal. And I'm actually jealous of it also.
So good.
Like I might loot it. and bring it
It's
to Baltimore.
totally. It was good to
It's
see
a
you.
great idea.
Michael, when did I see you last? Was it last year?
It was when you were in DC, not long before this pandemic.
It was last year.
Yeah.
Because before that, I remember seeing you and Sarah in New York, which was like, I don't know when that
Like
was.
5 years ago, 4 years ago.
I want to say like 2017 or something like that. But
It was a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, been a while.
All right.
Yeah, good. Good to see you guys. We'll see you,
You too.
soon.
Thank you
You
so
too.
much.
Thank you so much.
Well, take
Bye,
care.
Professor Stroup.
Bye.
All right. Here we are, Sarah.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. That's what I've been told to say over and over again. And next week we have Songwriter X and the Skeleton Band. It's gonna be a goofy week. It's gonna be so fun. Yeah,
No,
we're gonna have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. we suck
Michael
at
is
this.
gonna be giving a typewriter tour.
Yeah, it was requested. I'm gonna try and turn it into something that's interesting instead of something that I will be ashamed of 10 years down the road. But either way, we're gonna get into typewriters.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Basically, we're going back to Mobtown Live roots of being fun. And that's happening. So
Yep.
with that, like and subscribe. Go check out Shawna's book. Go check out Anaya's work. Go check out Sarah Stroup's stuff. And with that, thank you all so much for joining us.
Nurse that little blossom of hope in your heart.
Do it. Yeah,
Boom.
it's worth it.
We out.
Boom.
Stop and frisk. Proper permits. How do you spell classicist? We politely request you get your boots off our necks. We politely request you get your boots off our necks. We politely request you get your boots off our necks. We politely request you get your boots off our necks. And if the bastard guns you down, become a Simon. And if the bastard guns you down, become a Simon and cut them all. I wanna make them all alone. They like the fuse, it's gonna and if the bastard guns you down, become a diamond and cut them all. Out on the winding, windy moors, we'd roll and fall in green. You had a temper like my jealousy, too hard, too greedy. How could you leave me when I needed to possess you? I hated you, I loved you too. Bad dreams in the night. He told me I was going to lose the fight. Leave behind my walking through the high sea.